Hello, I'm Beth, and this is Social Leopards. Today, I'm diving back into the topic of friendship. Specifically, I think the things a lot of us struggle with are how to find it, how to build a new friendship, and then how to sustain it in a world that continues to feel busier, noisier, and more focused on impersonal activities like texting instead of calling. For me, I'm starting to place the topic of making new friends as an adult into the category of not for the faint of heart. Somewhere between career shifts, family stuff, and remembering to schedule our own dentist appointments, the spontaneous friend-making magic that happened when we were children, that seems to have slipped away completely. Suddenly, let's hang out requires a shared Google Calendar and a 2-week lead time. But even in the middle of that, the hunger for connection doesn't completely go away, for most of us at least. It just changes shape. I mean, if you're an introvert, perhaps texting is just the right amount of social interaction. But for others, I think we're looking for a little more face-to-face time. And mindfulness may be one of the answers. Mindfulness at its heart is about presence. It's about being where your feet are, being aware of what's happening around you and inside you. When it comes to friendship, mindfulness is the art of noticing who feels good to be around, noticing when you feel yourself come alive in conversation, noticing when someone else is really listening to what you have to say, or when you find that you're really wrapped up in the types of things that someone else is sharing. Mindfulness invites us to show up for friendships not as a social strategy, but as a kind of quiet devotion. It's less about networking and more about seeing. So what does that look like in real life? Let's start with the more routine moments of everyday life. You might meet potential friends in a place you visit often, like your favorite cafe, a local library event, or a fitness class you were hesitant to join but ended up enjoying. You might find kindred spirits walking dogs in the same park, in community gardens, or at a volunteer event. The point isn't the setting, it's about your presence in it. The difference between just another day and I met someone great often comes down to how open you are in the moment. Maybe that means you put your phone down in the waiting room instead of scrolling. Maybe you smile first. Maybe you say something small but kind, like, "I've been meaning to try that book too." These micro moments are how friendships begin, not through something blazingly obvious or forced, but through attention and ease. Now let's talk about nurturing friendships once you've found them, because that's where mindfulness really earns its stripes. A mindful friendship isn't about constant contact or perfectly timed replies. It's about showing up with intention when you can. It's about listening deeply rather than just waiting for your turn to talk. It's noticing when your friend seems a little quieter than usual and then gently asking, "Hey, how are you really?" I've actually seen "Hey, how are you really?" a lot in reels on social media lately, and I guess there are multiple ways to ask that question, like bringing up something from your last chat to follow up on and ask how things are going in that respect. I think I mentioned before that it really feels good if someone kind of checks in with me and asks for an update. It's a signal to me, at least, that the person cared enough to take a moment to acknowledge what I had shared earlier and is genuinely interested in following up. As a natural-born talker, it opens that window for me to share openly and without hesitation. But I tend not to bring things up again on my own because one of my mom's things that maybe she said a little too often was, "I don't want to be a bother." And somehow, even though I'd kind of do an internal eye roll whenever she said it to me, those words somehow stuck to me at the same time. Sometimes I do find myself equating oversharing with being bothersome to others. And along that line of thought, if you know someone who kind of pushes your buttons at times, it's a good idea to mentally pause before you choose to react in a disagreement kind of way, giving both of you space to breathe before words harden into walls. It's remembering that good friends aren't mirrors, they're windows. It's another human offering a view into another world, and that world might not be a reflection of your own. Obviously, not every friendship stays easy. There are seasons when people drift, when someone you used to talk to every day now lives in a different city or has a different life rhythm, for lack of a better term. Sometimes mindfulness also means noticing when a friendship has changed and giving it permission to evolve. Maybe as I'm talking, it's making you think about a friend where the connection looks different than it used to. Maybe you've started exchanging fewer texts. Maybe there's more space between interactions. Maybe you can think about it as a quieter appreciation from afar. It doesn't have to mean failure. It might just mean growth. The older I get, the more I realize that friendships, like us, need room to breathe. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for a friendship is to let it rest without resentment, to bless it for what it was, and to stay open to what might come next. If you're in a season where you're craving connection, maybe you've moved somewhere new or you've outgrown some circles that no longer fit, here are a few gentle ways to start building again. Try joining something that already aligns with your values or interests. That might mean a community art class, a local walking group, or a volunteer project for a cause that matters to you. I have used idealist.com, which pairs up with mostly nonprofits and human services groups to offer a wide variety of volunteer opportunities. Local event venues often use volunteers to usher, and you usually get to watch the shows for free. If you live near a national park, NPS.gov has a volunteer section on their site if you're into more active opportunities, like maintaining or building trails or participating in research projects. I'll throw both of those links in the show notes in case you want to give them a try. If you lean more towards a quieter lifestyle, smaller settings can help, like a book club or a creative workshop. If you're energized by variety, check out meetups or local events that focus on learning something new. And don't underestimate the quiet friendship potential of third places, those spots between work and home where community naturally happens. That's places like coffee shops, farmers markets, yoga studios, dog parks, neighborhood gardens. They're all ripe for connection when you approach them with curiosity instead of an agenda. While we're here, let's talk about something that doesn't get said enough. Healthy friendships require self-awareness. The kind that says, I want connection, but I also want to be someone worth connecting with. That means noticing your own patterns, like whether you disappear when life gets busy or expect emotional availability from others when you're running on empty yourself. Mindfulness asks us to take responsibility for our own emotional state so we can meet friends as equals, not as rescuers or as projects. When you show up as your whole self, honest, flawed, funny, learning, you give your friends permission to do the same. That's where the real belonging begins. One more thing about building friendships in adulthood. It takes time, a lot of it. The speed of trust is slow, but slow doesn't mean impossible. It just means intentional. The best friendships grow like perennials, not fireworks. You plant the seeds, a small gesture, an invitation, a shared laugh, and over time roots form beneath the surface, sometimes quietly, almost invisibly. And yes, not every friendship will last forever, or even beyond the current season. But each one offers something, a shared lesson, a moment of laughter, a feeling of being understood. That's enough to be grateful for. So if you're listening today and you've been feeling the ache of loneliness or awkwardness of starting over, I want to remind you, it's okay. You're human. We're all out here figuring it out, one hello, one coffee chat, or one quiet act of attention at a time. Friendship isn't about collecting people. It's about cultivating presence in yourself first and then with others. And maybe that's the most mindful act of all. Thanks for spending time with me today. If this episode resonated with you, consider sharing it with a friend or maybe someone who might become one. Until next time, keep trying to keep the flicker of friendship glowing. Take care.